strange revisiting Ninja Gaiden 2 today. We live in a time where games constantly try to respect your time, and this one doesn't. It takes your time, your patience, and your ego and breaks them down piece by piece until all that's left is determination. And yet, despite its cruelty, there's an undeniable elegance buried within the chaos. Because once you learn to dance with the storm, Ninja Gaiden 2 becomes one of the most rewarding action games ever made. Released in 2008, this was Team Ninja at the peak of their chaos-driven philosophy, where every battle was a lesson in precision and survival. The gameplay in Ninja Gaiden 2 is legendary, plain and simple. The combat has a kind of flow most modern action games still struggle to replicate. It's fast, visceral, and ferociously demanding, but also very fair. Every input matters, every dodge, every counter, every flick of the analog stick has intent behind it. The combat doesn't give you mastery, it forces you to earn it. You can't button mash your way through these encounters, you have to understand spacing, rhythm, and timing. The game teaches you that offensive and defensive are one in the same, and that survival isn't about hiding behind the block button, it's about learning when to strike and when to disappear. Even after all these years, the combat still feels incredible. It's the kind of system that can easily stand beside modern action games like Devil May Cry 5 or Sekiro. It's brutal, yes, but also beautifully balanced. Once it clicks, the gameplay moves like a river, smooth, dangerous, and unfreaking stoppable. Honestly, if not for the camera, I'd call the combat a perfect 10 out of 10. Few games reward skills and aggression this effectively. The sensation of slicing through waves of enemies, feeling the weight of every counterattack, and earning victory through sheer focus is the purest form of satisfaction that you can get from an action game. But Ninja Gaiden 2 isn't flawless. In fact, it's a mess in a lot of ways. The camera is notoriously bad, especially during crowded fights where it seems to have a mind of its own. Now don't get me wrong, it's a massive improvement over the first game's camera. You'll often lose sight of Ryu entirely as enemies close in, but we have a button this time that entirely allows you to place the camera behind Ryu in the Sigma version of the game, and it still feels like you're fighting the camera as much as the demons. Boss encounters are another double-edged sword. Some of them are unforgettable, like Genshin, whose duels are the purest test of willpower, while others border on unfair. These fights often demand perfect memorization of attack patterns, something the game doesn't train you in naturally. You learn by dying, over and over again, until the muscle memory burns in. It's the kind of design philosophy that feels punishing by today's standards, but there's something kind of honest about it. When you finally conquer one of these fights, the satisfaction is real in its purest form. To really understand Ninja Gaiden 2, I think you have to look back at the original Ninja Gaiden. The first game was precise, almost surgical in its execution. Every encounter felt like a controlled duel. It was tough, but it respected your inputs and gave you clarity. Ninja Gaiden 2 took that foundation and unleashed it. Where the first game was measured, the second is unhinged. Itagaki wanted you to take everything that made Ninja Gaiden great, the intensity, the speed, the discipline, and push it to the breaking point. The result is both a triumph and a disaster. The combat became faster, more aggressive, more cinematic, Ryu's movements are sharper, and dismemberment mechanic adds a layer of tactical depth that the first game never had. When you sever an enemy's limb, it changes their behavior. They crawl towards you clutching an explosive, or lash out in a desperate final strike. It's grim, but brilliant. It keeps the tension high at all times. But in focusing so much on chaos, Ninja Gaiden 2 lost some of the elegance of its predecessor. The first game taught you through subtle repetition by giving you space to read your opponent and learn their patterns. The sequel just overwhelms you. It's faster, flashier, and less predictable. The unpredictability makes it thrilling, but also frickin' exhausting. Still, it's hard to deny how exhilarating it is once you adapt. The sequel's combat, for all its rough edges, feels alive in a way few games ever do. The first game was about mastery, the second feels like it's more about survival. Part of what makes Ninja Gaiden 2 so special is how unapologetically old school it feels. It doesn't care if you're frustrated, it doesn't care if you rage quit, it assumes you'll come back stronger, and that's what makes it so rewarding. It's a game that expects skill, not patience, not grinding, but actual skill, timing, awareness, and composure. If you grew up with the NES originals, that mindset feels familiar. When you finally master the aggression and learn the defensive rhythm, it becomes addictive. The combat stops feeling punishing and starts feeling perfect. That's when Ninja Gaiden 2 becomes magical. It's brutal, but it makes you feel better. The visual design still holds up remarkably well. Character models? Imaginative and distinct. Very distinct. full of the bizarre charm that defined Team Ninja's art direction at the time. The environments, from burning cities to overgrown temples, still have that mythic, almost surreal quality. It's not realistic, it's stylized, and it works really freaking well. If you've only played Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, the redefined PlayStation version, which is where the footage for the review comes from, you've experienced a very different game. Sigma 2 smoothed out the chaos, fixed the camera, reduced enemy counts, and removed the blood almost entirely. It's easier to play, but it's less memorable. The original 360 version, even with its flaws, still feels definitive. It's the one that tests you, the one that demands respect, and the one that reminds you why old school design mattered even today. And replaying it, it's remarkable how well it holds up. The gameplay is smoother than memory suggests, and the combat still has that razor-sharp intensity that so many modern games try to capture, but can't. Yes, it's rough around the edges, and that's part of its soul. It's not polished, it's alive. Ninja Gaiden 2 is one of those rare games that defines an era. It's frustrating, unbalanced, sometimes even broken, and yet it's still a masterpiece of combat design. The navigation can be clunky, the camera is dreadful most of the times, some bosses feel like brick walls you're smacking your head against, but none of that changes what the game achieves at its full force. A symphony of violence and precision unlike anything else. They don't make games like this anymore, and maybe they never will again. For all its flaws, Ninja Gaiden 2 remains a powerful reminder of what action games can be when they trust the player completely. It's not a fight against enemies, it's a fight against yourself. And when you finally win, the victory feels pure. If not for the technical hiccups, this would be a perfect score. But even with them, I would give Ninja Gaiden an 8 or a 9 out of 10, because it's not perfect, but because it's one of the last truly earned experiences in gaming. Alright guys, that is the review. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I decided this time to focus mainly on gameplay as opposed to like jumping into the story. Be sure to let me know if this is the sort of review you'd like to see. I'm just trying to figure out exactly the best way to do these. Next up should be Ninja Gaiden 3 or maybe Ghost of Yotei. I'm not sure, but look forward to that. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching again. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more reviews. And until next time, may all of your games be good ones, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.